Welcome to Stories from the Teacher's Desk. This is where educators connect, share, and grow.
In each episode, we share inspiring stories, practical strategies, and innovative solutions to empower teachers and transform classrooms around the world. We are so excited to really dig into some really fascinating stuff that you, our awesome listeners, have sent us.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
So for this deep dive, we are focusing on, effective learning strategies for teachers.
It's a great topic.
It is. And we are always trying to look for the best ways to help teachers really, up their game.
Right.
So we had this amazing case study sent to us that explores how gaming technologies can be used to really boost student learning and engagement in the classroom.
And it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really cool stuff. We're looking at a 2009 What Works Well case study from England,
Okay.
and it was recently summarized by Camtree, so we're going to break that down.
Awesome.
And this is like, straight from the classroom, practical ideas,
Yes.
that teachers can actually implement.
Exactly. And that's what we really want to get to is, what is this study all about? What did they do? What did they find out? And most importantly, what does it mean for all of you amazing teachers out there
Yeah.
trying to make a difference in the classroom?
Let's jump in. What was the main question this study was trying to answer?
Yeah, so the core question was really could intentionally aligning learning with things students are genuinely interested in, like, for example, gaming, actually improve their attainment and engagement.
It makes sense.
It doesn't make sense.
If they are already into something, why not kind of like
Leverage it.
leverage it? Exactly.
And really foster deeper understanding. And, would that even translate into better behavior,
Right.
In the classroom?
So where did this idea come from?
So it's really interesting. This wasn't like a top-down
Initiative.
mandate or anything like that.
Yeah.
It actually started with a local ICT consultant who suggested, hey, why don't we try this gaming unit?
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. They began with year 7 students. So that's like, roughly around 11 or 12-year-olds, just so everyone knows.
Got it.
And the response was so positive. They were like, okay, let's expand this to year 9, which is like 13, 14.
Oh, wow.
And the school's ICT department just took the reins and they piloted the whole thing.
So like they were really driving this.
They were driving it. It was very much a bottom-up approach.
Yeah, that's great.
And the head of that department just saw a huge increase in student engagement
Oh, cool.
during lessons.
What kind of things did they see?
So get this, a lot of the students, and this wasn't required,
Yeah.
voluntarily downloaded free software at home
Oh, wow.
so they could continue working on their game projects.
I mean, that speaks volumes.
It does. It shows they were becoming much more independent learners
Boy.
working on this stuff outside of school.
So it wasn't just like a classroom thing they had to do.
Exactly.
It was something that they were actually taking home and enjoying and wanting to do.
Yes. And so that kind of engagement just spilled over into the classroom as well, because
Wow.
they also saw improvement in student behavior in general, just a greater focus on the learning.
Right. Because it was fun.
Because it was fun.
Like they were having a good time.
Exactly. And they really believed that, using these new technologies that students are already into
Yeah.
wasn't just about entertainment value. It was about giving them good learning habits, preparing them for the 21st century.
Like it was really practical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was very much tied into the curriculum.
Interesting. So how did they tie it in?
So the idea was have students design games
Oh, cool.
for specific age groups
Okay.
and understand how all the different parts of a game fit together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was problem solving.
So they're learning these practical things like game
so-
design.
And they even had peer review.
What does that look like?
So they'd actually play each other's games and give feedback. Like, is this appropriate for this age group?
Yeah.
Is this fun?
Yeah. So they're really thinking about their audience as well.
Exactly. And the whole goal was to make this key stage 3 curriculum, which, again, for anyone listening who's not familiar, it's just kind of that broad range of subjects
Right.
in those early secondary school years.
Yeah.
To make it more interesting, more relevant, focusing on things like sequencing,
Okay.
real-world connections,
Yeah.
and really keeping the student at the center of the learning process.
And that's what we want, right? Engaged learners
Engaged learners.
who are excited about what they're doing.
Yes, definitely.
So, it sounds great so far, but how did they actually measure how well this was working?
Yeah.
Like, what were they looking for in terms of student success?
So to see if this was actually working, they
Mm.
set these specific like targets, like what did they hope the students would actually get out of this?
Yeah.
And these success criteria included
So, like, specific things.
specific things. So improvements in their game design skills, number one.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Like make sure the games are appropriate for their audience, they actually achieve what they're trying to do.
Right.
And also be able to connect what they were learning in the unit to their own experiences.
So bringing it back to their own world.
Yes. And to become more self-directed in their learning, better problem solvers.
That's so important. Like those problem-solving skills
Yes.
are going to translate to so many different areas.
Absolutely. And then the big one, continue working on these projects outside of class time.
Wow. So they're really hoping that this sparks something
They want it to spark.
that keeps the kids learning even outside of school hours.
They want them to be engaged
Yeah.
on their own time.
So it's not just about the grades, it's about like that love of learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they didn't just like set these goals and be like, okay, go do it. They monitored the progress.
Oh, good. So
Yeah.
how did they do that?
So they would use classroom observations,
Okay.
to see how the students were engaging. They had regular teacher assessments to track their understanding, and they would really analyze the game projects themselves
Oh, wow.
to see, how the skills were developing.
So they're really taking a multifaceted approach
Multifaceted.
to assessing this. It's not just like a test at the end.
Yeah.
They're really looking at the whole picture.
The whole picture.
Yeah. So for our teacher listeners out there,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of resources and professional development did the school provide to help teachers feel comfortable and confident with this new approach?
Yeah, so for all you teachers out there, this wasn't just like, hey, go use games in your classroom, good luck.
They weren't just thrown to the wolves.
No, they actually had a lot of support, so they did teacher-led demonstrations
Oh.
showing how to use the software, how to actually develop games.
So like practical hands-on stuff.
Practical, exactly. And then they had video tutorials and even written help sheets to accommodate all the different learning styles.
So it was like catering to
Everyone's
learning needs.
Yeah, and they would even start the students off working with these pre-made mini games.
Oh, cool. So like a little...
Like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
So they could get comfortable with the basic tools and concepts.
That makes a lot of sense. Like before you jump into
Creating a whole game.
creating a whole game, yeah.
Exactly. And they also had some specific resources that they used. So they used this game maker software,
Okay.
which came with all this built-in help,
Oh,
documentation.
So it was user-friendly.
Yes,
Yeah.
very user-friendly. And then they also used this book. It's called The Game Maker Apprentice.
Catchy tire.
Catchy title.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was very step-by-step, very easy to follow.
Okay.
And they also used materials from the local education authority, which was cool, kind of kept it local.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And get this, some of the example games and even resources were made by trainee teachers.
Wow. So they got the new teachers involved?
They did. These PGCE students, which are basically trainee teachers in the UK.
That's a great way to
Yeah, get them engaged.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about the materials, there was also a real network of support.
Okay, great.
So the local authority's ICT consultant was super involved in the early stages of designing this whole gaming unit.
Right.
And they actually provided training to the ICT subject leaders in the school.
So there was a lot of investment
There was.
in making sure the teachers had the tools and the knowledge that they needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they really felt prepared and confident
Yeah.
to actually teach this new stuff.
So I'm dying to know, what were the results?
Yes.
Did this approach actually work?
So they found some pretty amazing stuff.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so first of all, the students had significantly higher attainment compared to the previous unit that they were using kind of as a control.
Yeah.
And more of them were achieving those higher levels.
That's amazing.
Level 5 or above compared to earlier cohorts.
So there's a noticeable, quantifiable difference.
Yes, quantifiable. And they even saw an overall improvement in student performance compared to previous units.
That's really impressive.
It was.
So the numbers definitely point to a positive impact.
They do. They really do.
But what about beyond the numbers?
Yeah.
What did they see happening in the classroom? Were there any observable changes in how the students were learning and interacting?
Oh, yeah. So many cool things.
Tell me everything.
Okay, so they found that students were much more on task. They were super eager.
Oh, that's great.
to improve their games.
Yeah.
And they really thought this improved behavior was directly linked to that connection with the learning material.
They were invested in it.
They were invested.
Yeah.
They were interested in it.
So it wasn't just like, oh, I'm doing this because I have to. It was like, I want to get this right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was just like this huge increase in them independently solving problems and then collaborating with their peers.
Oh, that's so important to
It's
share
cool.
knowledge.
Like that collaborative learning piece is huge.
It is huge.
Yeah, yeah.
And even more students were attending extracurricular clubs
Wow.
related to technology and gaming.
So it was impacting them outside of the classroom as well.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
And they even had some really amazing quotes from the students themselves.
Oh, I love those. Like those are so telling.
I know. One student said that they felt more motivated and engaged.
That's what we want to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
And another one mentioned that the project sparked imagination and inspired creativity.
So it's tapping into those higher level thinking skills.
Exactly. And several students said that the lessons felt more like the reality world outside of school.
Oh, wow. So they were making those connections.
You were making those connections between like what they were learning and their everyday lives.
Yes. And one student even said that the work was more challenging.
Okay.
But as he was enjoying it, he did not mind and wanted to learn more.
So he was actually embracing the challenge.
He was embracing it.
Yeah.
And it raised his own expectations of what he could actually achieve.
That is so powerful. Like, that's what we want, right?
Huh.
We want students who believe in themselves and their abilities.
Yes, exactly. And other students were saying, it's just more fun.
It's more fun to learn this way.
And they understood the importance of planning and design before you just dive in and start building something.
Like there's a process.
There's a process.
Yeah.
They even recognized the processes of this system life cycle.
Oh, wow. So they're really understanding the underlying principles.
They are.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just playing around. They were actually learning valuable skills.
Oh. Yeah. So it sounds like the students were really benefiting from this approach, but what about the teachers? What kind of impact did this have on them with their teaching practices?
So the teachers also reported some amazing changes.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
I know. So they saw this improved learning culture overall.
Oh.
As they were going through this game development process.
Yeah.
They were seeing more student engagement.
Right.
And there was even a healthy little bit of competition.
Oh, that's fun.
I know.
Yeah.
To create the best game,
Right. Like a friendly rivalry.
A friendly rivalry. But the biggest thing was just this shift towards students really owning their learning.
Oh, that's so cool.
So they would research things on their own, find solutions to problems.
Without having to constantly ask the teacher.
They would work on their projects at home.
Wow.
And they would give each other feedback.
So it was really student-driven.
It was very student-driven.
That's fantastic.
And the teachers had some great things to say about it.
Well, I'd love to hear some of their perspectives.
Okay, so one teacher said, they were surprised how students had become more independent and tried to solve problems for themselves.
That's always a nice surprise.
Right. And another one said, students took work home and were able to develop and enhance their learning outside the classroom.
That's the dream.
It is.
Yeah.
And there was even a parent
Oh, wow.
who was just so impressed
Yeah.
by how much their child was enjoying this and the quality of the work they were doing.
So it was noticeable.
Noticeable. And another teacher said, students were able to relate their world to that of education.
That's so powerful.
Right. So cool.
Yeah, yeah. So beyond those anecdotes and observations, what other evidence did they have to support those claims about the impact on teaching?
So they were getting this evidence from a bunch of different places, like, those formal classroom observations.
Mhm.
They were looking at the teachers' lesson plans.
Okay.
And even just getting feedback from the teachers, like their own perceptions.
Right.
And the teaching staff just really recognized that students could achieve at these higher levels.
Yeah.
Much more independently when the learning was relevant and when they could use these new technologies.
They were empowered.
Empowered. And some of the teachers even said that their planning became less structured
Interesting.
as the students, started to take more responsibility.
Yeah, they didn't need as much hand-holding.
They didn't.
Yeah,
And it was just this trust and flexibility.
that's wonderful. So what do you think, what was the most crucial element that made this whole thing work?
So the study really found that the key was that students were more focused, more interested, and they just understood why they were doing it.
Yeah.
because it was connected to something they already knew and enjoyed.
It was relevant to them.
It was relevant.
Yeah.
And they were creating a game, not just playing a game.
Right. There's a difference.
Big difference. And so they understood the whole development process.
The how and the why behind it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So for any teachers listening who are thinking, okay, this sounds amazing, but how do I even begin? Where do I start?
Okay, so for all of you out there who are thinking, I want to try this,
Yeah.
they had some pretty concrete recommendations.
Awesome.
They said, start by downloading that Game Maker program yourself. Work through the tutorials.
Oh, that's great advice. Like familiarize yourself with the tool.
Exactly. And they said, explore all the amazing online resources.
There's so much out there.
So much. And consider using that book, The Game Maker Apprentice.
That step-by-step guide.
The step-by-step guide.
Yeah.
And they also said, don't forget that initial professional development is key.
Right. Like having that support system in place.
The support system, so important.
So to bring it all together, what are the key takeaways from this deep dive into game-based learning?
Okay, so for you, the learner who sent us this awesome case study, what did we learn?
Well, the big takeaway here is the incredible potential of really tapping into your students' passions and interests. Like this study shows us, using something like gaming technology, which they already love, can make them more engaged, more independent in their learning, and ultimately help them achieve more academically.
And for you teachers, remember, that initial structured support is so important.
Right. Like give them the tools and the resources they need to succeed.
Exactly. And create that classroom environment where students feel empowered to explore, to collaborate, to take charge of their learning.
It's about creating a space where they can thrive.
Exactly.
Yeah. So while this particular study was all about gaming, the bigger idea here is about finding what makes your students tick.
Yeah.
What are they passionate about? What technologies are they already using outside of school? And how can you bring those things into the classroom to make learning more engaging and effective?
It's about meeting them where they are. Yeah.
Exactly. And then taking them further. So keep exploring those ideas, keep looking for those connections, and see what amazing things you and your students can achieve together.
Absolutely. So keep those deep dives coming, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and stay tuned for the next one.